Let's talk about the will and the zeal to pursue this fight. When we talk about fighting corruption, one other issue here is that quite recently we have seen some of the agency's staff members, specifically in this case that of the EFCC, and even a security outfit like the DSS, caught up in something that you would want to call maybe a robbery attempt. All of this also borders on corruption fight. Do you think that these agencies have been able to clean its house in order for it to say, now we're ready for this fight and we're going to give it our best?
Well, people are watching the EFCC that has a new leadership right now. But I have to be honest with you, the other agencies like the CCB and the CCT, they really need to clean their house. That is one that requires a presidential intervention right now. But we strongly believe that the new EFCC chairman will shift away from reactionary investigation and go into deep
haven't we seen this before? Every leadership of the EFCC, if that is what we want to really look at now, has come up to say what we have just had the new leader say. They all come up to say, we will give it our very best and our all. But what happens when it gets to the twilight of that particular leadership?
At this point, I want to go by the standard the president of the country is giving right now, that knowing his commitment to the war against corruption, that he really needs to strengthen these agencies. And if they are not doing well, we don't need to keep them there for a very long time. If the man there cannot be able to set an agenda within the next 6 months in terms of deep-rooted investigations and prosecution, you change him. And then the ones that need us for us to restore the integrity back, like I'm saying, you do those ones immediately. Because if you don't do this thing, we are going to arrest a lot of people, make the headlines, and then in the next 1 year, they will be like those former governors who their corruption cases are still pending in court since 8, 7, 10 years up to this moment. And Nigerian people get them. When this issue of EFCC, for instance, came up on the allegation by Obo over the former chairman of EFCC, Lamode, everybody was interested. People were watching the proceedings in the parliament. But since Lamode left, no Nigerian, even most media houses have not asked, where is the anti-corruption fighter Lamode? Why is he not around? Is it true that he has escaped out of the country? Why is he not facing those charges before him? But Nigerians, in their usual way, have celebrated that case. They are looking for the new case. So definitely there must be a way of institutionalizing this fight for us to be able to get to the end of it and be able to achieve the desired result. And like I said before, the procedure must be followed. Why I keep talking about this procedure is because of the recent cases where they are going up and down, like in the Code of Conduct Tribunal, where Bukola Saraki is facing a trial. There's one thing I want you to know, that even at times, I begin to wonder that does some of these judges do it deliberately? If you permit me, there is a particular line I will read in this judgment. This was judgment of November 30, 2011. It was delivered by Justice Danladi Umar in the case involving Tinubu. And this is just like 3 years ago. So he knows about this judgment. Now, what did this judgment say? He said in this extract, I feel compelled by the argument of the learned senior advocate for the accused applicant that it is a condition precedent for referring a charge to this tribunal that the accused ought to have been invited to either deny or admit the allegation against him. Now, the intention of the legislator in inserting the provision in Section 3D is to reduce traffic to the tribunal and also give the accused the opportunity to deny or accept those allegations. Now, this Section 3D is something that even an elementary student of law knows, that you do not bring somebody before a tribunal without exhausting the option of Section 3D. Now, why do you bring Bukola Saraki there? Now you make your headlines. At the end of the day, you not achieve anything.
I think we have moved on. We have moved on from that. We were actually looking at how best we can strengthen these agencies in the fight. I think we've said that much with the CCV and that particular matter. Very quickly, you know, you were talking about the body language of the president. And for so many Nigerians, they think that that shouldn't be. That's an anomaly. We should be talking about how best we can strengthen these agencies, irrespective of who's coming in there as the leader of those agencies. What are we not getting right when we talk about the fight against corruption, looking at leadership and agencies?
You see, you just shut me up from something I'm saying, which goes to what you're asking me now. When somebody knows he has told
because as the anchor, with all respect, we have gone through that before. We
yes,
asked questions and we
but
went
see, the
through,
point I'm
and
making.
somehow you went back there, and I'm saying it doesn't really go with what point you want to raise on looking at how we can strengthen the agencies.
Now, strengthening the agencies, like I said, you say you don't agree with the issue of body language, but strengthening the agencies requires the
I
will
didn't say
for
I
you to
don't
be able to
agree. I
make the
said
needed.
I didn't say I'm not giving my personal opinion. I said for some they don't agree that we should be looking at the body language of the president. They think that that's an anomaly, but we should be talking about of how best to strengthen those institutions, irrespective of who's there as a leader or the president.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. To set the standard is very simple. The person that is heading those agencies knows what the law spelled out. And the very moment he's not doing what those laws spelled out, the person in charge should commence the process of removing the person. Once you do that, people that will come after those persons will know that this is serious and play by the rule. And strengthening it, the president is not going to carry his seat and come and sit inside EFCC or ICPC to be following what they are doing today. Those people should be able to discharge those constitutional responsibility. And when it is not discharged, then the president will now use his political will to ensure that those ones that need to be removed without looking at their faces, and ensure that even if there is anyone that abuses the trust that is the trust that he has, he should be able to face the necessary trials, like you have in the EFCC. If those past chairmen of EFCC have refused to do what they were supposed to do and abuse their office, we should use them to set example and make sure they face the full weight of the law. That will go a long way in institutionalizing those institutions.
Can the House clean itself? For instance, the EFCC, if they have any member who's been fingered or who is alleged to have been corrupt or enmeshed also in corruption act, what do you think they should be doing?
Most of the junior staff that have been involved in corrupt related issues, the management dealt with them. But the problem has to do with the top leadership of those agencies, and that is where you require a presidential mind. Like if, for instance, the former president Goodluck Jonathan has worked on the letter from the Attorney General to him to initiate the process of removal of Danladi Umar, this issue of integrity in Code of Conduct Tribunal will not have been an issue right at this particular moment. And also, the NJC also has a role to be monitoring the judgment and of some of these judges. If there is some spare rules that we expect that most judges should have upheld, if there is condition precedent for a trial and you don't follow it, at the end of the day, you should be made to answer for that. People should be meant to answer for that so that they don't get away with some of the things they do. So the NGC equally has to be monitoring judgments that are coming from these corruption-related courts.
Very quickly, let's close on this. Are there untouchables in this fight?
Well, I don't agree that there's untouchable. I strongly agree that it is because of the incompetence of some of the people heading the anti-corruption agencies that makes it look like there's untouchable. Because if you know your job, you go ahead and do your job. Most of them, you require two-thirds of the parliament to remove them. So if you do the right thing, nobody's going to remove you.
Ikenga Ogochinyere, a legal practitioner, it's been nice speaking with you this morning on the fight against corruption.
Thank you.